Don't look now, but it looks like the critics have given positive reviews on the Carolina Panthers 2025 draft class. Now, I know Super Bowls and divisions aren't won in the draft or in the offseason, but damn it, the Panthers haven't won in the offseason in a while, and they haven't won in the regular season either. So I'd rather try winning in the offseason and see if it carries over before we do anything else. But in this video today, I'm going to give my pick by pick breakdowns and grades for each person in this class, because I thought that Dan Morgan did a pretty good job, him and his coaching staff and the scouting department, of having a good feel of what was going on. We'll have a sit-down conversational thing about what they did and the strategy they had in the Panther Banter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and to that so you catch that episode, just to break down his philosophy and why he did things that championship organizations actually do. But in this video, we're going granular, pick by pick, just to look at who's whom. I am Aaron Ducky here with the Necessary Block, the Sports Talk, your honorary host, founder, coach, quarterback for this channel. So let's go ahead and get into this Panthers draft pick breakdown. Starting with round one, Tetairoa McMillan, the prize jewel, number 8 overall. On the big board was number 10th overall on the consensus. I've compared this to NFL mock draft database. They survey the industry. They survey all the professionals that put together mock drafts and just average guys' draft position and their overall ranking, and just see where they are in the consensus. The consensus had him going 12 as the 10th overall, and he was predicted to go in the first round. Of course, the Panthers selected him at 8. They get their bona fide wide receiver 1 with dominant traits on the upside, with the ability to go up and play the ball in the air with that volleyball background. 6'4", 6'5", 219. Gumby-like features, the way he's able to adjust and contort his body. We haven't seen a guy be able to make the spectacular catch like he has in this franchise in a long time. So it's very overdue that we get a guy like this, that he's not just a threat down the field to go over the top of DBs, but does a lot of damage in the intermediate, which where Bryce Young loves to throw to. So I think being able to do this after getting Xavier Legette and having Jalen Coker, Adam Thielen, the vet, having Tetairoa and McMillan, who's a little bit different than everybody in that room, is something that I think that they can build upon. He has alignment, versatility, just everything it feels like the Panthers are looking for in a weapon, and they decided to go receiver first, even though they had a bad defense last year. I thought this was very disciplined by Dan Morgan, reading the board and realizing what he could get later on, which we'll talk about. But Ted McMillan gets an A for me, for value and for just the type of pick and the fit. But hey guys, real quick, I wanted to announce I am doing a jersey giveaway for the Carolina Panthers first round draft pick, Tetairoa McMillan. Yes, that beautiful black jersey with that number 4 that Tetairoa has decided to go with. And again, this will be a pre-order whenever you win it, so it may not come a little bit till closer to the season after Fanatics does their thing. But regardless, all you have to do is follow some of the steps at the link down below in the description. No purchase necessary for anything. Just subscribe to the podcast, join the email list, follow some different social media pages, some stuff like that, and you enter yourself for a chance to win. And that's all you got to do. So make sure you check that out. But let's go ahead and get back to the video. Round 2, pick number 51, the 51st overall pick. The Panthers traded up to take Nic Scourton, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Now, according to the big board, he was a consensus overall rank at 41, and the Panthers got good value by getting him 10 spots later on that. This was crazy because pre-Senior Bowl, like really post season, this guy was looked at to be a first round draft pick, and obviously he didn't do the Senior Bowl, didn't do any numeric testing or speed or athletic testing in the pre-draft process, just did drills at the pro day. So he kind of flew under the radar, didn't get a ton of hype, but this guy checks their boxes. We talked about pre-draft what their fits were. He has that arm length that they look for. He definitely has the weight. He has the lower body strength. We didn't get the exact number on the test, but he checks the boxes for length, and he plays with a high motor, which they love as well. He's only 20 years old. He was 280 pounds at Purdue. Before he left, he ended up being 280 at Texas A&M. Played in that weird system, so he only ended up with 5 sacks as a senior or in his final year. But the year before that, he was Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year with 10 sacks. Yes, was top 10 in the nation with that sack total. So just being able to get a guy like this that has power, that has some strength, that is has a nifty spin move that can be really fleet-footed at times, even at 280. So him slimming down to the 257 or 260 area, which I think will will be ideal. It's going to be something to see. I know his only knock per most of the experts was he needed a little bit more twitch and burst, and maybe because he was playing a little bit heavier than normal, playing at 280. So being able to slim down, you expect him to be a little bit more nimble. I guess, again, he's only 20 years old, so he's still growing and becoming a man, honestly. He won't be 21 until August, which is aka training camp and preseason. So there's a lot of upside here for a young guy that's still developing, still learning his body, still coming of age. I really like the Scourton pick because he gives them a little bit of a thumper, which it seems like more than they like. A guy that gives them something in the running game, but also a guy that is quick enough to be able to slash and line up inside, line up outside, gives them a lot of versatility and combination they can do on third down with the rest of the moves that they made with some of those rushers they got in free agency. So I gave the Scourton pick an A. To the third round, the Carolina Panthers traded up to pick number 77 to get Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. Now, on the consensus board, he was ranked 62, which was pretty much a second round, and he was predicted to go in the second round. They got him in the third round. This is a guy that showed a lot of love. They went to his pro day. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. They brought him in on a 30 visit. He was a little bit upset that he even fell this far, asking what took them so long to come get him. They got him 15 picks after his consensus, so they got phenomenal value on a guy that, worst case scenario, he's a designated pass rusher for you. He had double-digit sacks this year for Ole Miss, 55 pressures, which is nuts, playing in the SEC. Just a guy that has the speed, the stride length, and the burst to continually be in the backfield. He may not always have the power, which he said that, hey, I didn't really have to use power because nobody could stop my speed. So this guy's a very, very confident guy. He told Dave Canales on the draft phone that, hey, he's going to run them pockets because he's going to produce so much for them. They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. So he's just that type of guy. He's very, very confident in his ability. These are the type of players that we need on the team. Princely was my personal favorite and I guess draft crush because I love me a speed rusher. I just love the bend, the get off. He has to work on his ability versus the run, but it's not something that he hasn't shown on tape. It's just coaching, I think, can really help get the best out of him to help get his mind right. He's not a really aficionado of playing the run, but I think that coaching will be able to get that out of him. He has very, very every down guy upside, but at least as a rookie, he will be able to come in on third down at obvious pass scenarios and get after the quarterback. Even if he's not getting home, he has the speed to make the quarterback uncomfortable and potentially flush him out of the pocket for everybody else to come up for cleanup sacks. I love being able to double dip at edge, getting your stronger, heavier thumper, but also having this thinner, quicker, faster speed guy off the edge. Just complementary bookends that hopefully going forward in the future, you have them as guys that can wreak terror on quarterbacks down in and down out. I gave this pick an A+ just because the value and the type of guy. This is a guy that's have a skill set that they haven't had in a while. Think of having the get off and the speed and stride length of Brian Burns, but also having a little bit deeper of a pass rush back. He has a spin move. He has the cross chop. He has the flexibility to dip his hips and get under blocks and reduce his surface area so linemen can't block him. This guy has a good foundation to be able to build off of. I'm excited to see what they do with Princely. Again, A+. Round 4, the first pick of day 3, they took Trevor Etienne in round 4, 114th overall on the big board of the consensus. He was ranked 140 and projected to be a 5th rounder. So in terms of value, it was an overdraft by almost a full round. Trevor Etienne has he was the back that played for the Georgia. He transferred from Florida. He's short, quicker, a little bit more compact, 5'8" or so, just over 200 pounds, but has that hip explosive ability that we talked about in the pre-draft process when I broke down the running back position. He has some upside in the return game as well and the receiving game, so he brings that to the table. I personally was I thought I liked a little bit more backs better than Trevor. I think he's a good back, but I think people are coining this as an indictment on Jonathan Brooks. But to me, if you wanted to kind of replace or have insurance for Jonathan Brooks, you would have took some of the other every down backs on the board, like Devin Neal or potentially a DJ Giddens, who has a every down skill set, who can catch the ball, run, can make people miss and hit the home run, versus a guy that At this point, it's probably going to be running back 3, has a receiving skill set because he can work out of the backfield, but seems more like a Raheem Blackshear clone in the sense of he's a kick returner as well. He can catch the ball, but he can also run. So to me, it seemed a little redundant to get this type of back, and I don't mind you going running back here, but if you're going to get one, get a guy with RB1 type of upside, one that has an every down skill set, and that's not necessarily the case for Trevor Etienne, in my opinion. I do think he's a good player, but in terms of the value, because it seems like it was a bit of an overdraft based on the consensus and the type of back that he is, I gave this grade a D, probably one of the more questionable picks I had of this draft class. But again, I love the player. I just wasn't sure about the fit, 1, and 2, the value of getting him here when you had some other pressing needs. But if you're going just straight off the board, I guess this is where you had the guy ranked. I just question what other backs did you have on your board and why were they not higher than Trevor as they were in my eyes. The second pick in round 4, 8 picks later, was Lathan Ransom. Round 4, pick 122 overall. He was ranked 108, so you got good value there. You picked him after his overall ranking and value. Championship caliber safety, playing with Ohio State, starting there, played a lot of football there. This guy is an enforcer. He's going to bring the wood. He's going to lay the wood. He's going to let you feel about it. He's knocked guys out of games, notably, and made them really contemplate. He probably made a couple basketball players out of some guys over his years. When you start getting hit a little bit, you start wondering, like, hey, do I really like football or do I want to play hoops? You know what I'm saying? With a lot less contact. So I'm sure he's had that under his belt as well. But Ransom is the guy that can come downhill, can fill the alleys, can tackle. His accuracy tackling isn't the best, but when he does square up and get guys over, he has stopping power. Guys kind of stop in their tracks. So he's able to get those guys when he hits them and land those hits, they go down where they are. But there are some times where he can miss some tackles. He does show a tad bit of range and coverage, but I thought we needed more of a deep middle safety because we have a Trevor Moehrig, who is a guy that plays closer to the line of scrimmage and is that physical presence. And I thought to complement them, you may want a deeper safety. And they kind of waited too long because they missed on a guy like Jonas Sanker, who went in the 3rd, and they passed on some other safeties potentially on the board like Malachi Moore, who's more of a coverage guy, but also not afraid to tackle, a little bit lighter in the pants, but a guy that played at Alabama that has some nickel experience and some safety experience that they could have went, in my opinion, if they did go there. But nevertheless, they have a type. They want these physical enforcers. They want to be mean, tough, and nasty, like they say on the offensive line, but be able to have these type of guys. Of course, from day one, a guy like this that flies around, he's going to play special teams, and that's going to fill that void as well. If you can run, you can hit, you're going to be able to play special teams, and I think Lathan does that from day one. We'll figure out what type of role he could potentially carve out because I think there's some overlap in his skill set in terms of just being a guy that needs to play close to the box or maybe in that robber standpoint, the middle of the field, lurking there in the middle as a safety there. So I'm not really sure how he's going to fit in this defense, but we'll see what happens for Ajiro Rivera and how he picks. They wanted a guy like this. They got a guy like this. It seems like they have a type. I gave this pick a C because they got good value. And I think they have her type, so that's what it tells me. But I thought that they needed more of a middle free safety that could play that post and cover ground a lot more with range versus a guy that wants to play downhill and come hit. So I gave it a C. Round 5 is going to be Cam Jackson. Round 5, picked 140th overall. His overall rank on the big board was 177, so it seems like he was taken a lot higher than the consensus. So round 5, pick 140, 37 pick difference. Regardless, this guy is huge, 6'6", 330 pounds, gives them a body type in-house that they don't really have. By far the biggest guy on the roster, bigger than Derrick Brown. And this is a guy that they need to be able to take up some space. Last year, in the middle, we were a little bit light in the pants, so our defensive line would get pushed back into our linebackers' laps, and they couldn't stop the run either. So it just starts to fortify that line of scrimmage so you don't get pushed off. You can hold the spot, you can kind of control blockers and free up your linebackers to run sideline to sideline and make tackles. This guy is going to have a every 2-down role. This is a good spot to get these type of guys around that mid rounds that may only play 2 downs, but has a little bit of pass rush upside, not much. It's up outside of a pocket collapser and pushing the pocket, which we talked about before, as well as a defensive need. But regardless, even if he's only a 2-down player, I think that the value still is what is good for what we need. I give them a B because they needed a guy like this. And the only reason it's not an A is because it felt like they drafted him to be high, but I think he's going to be able to play early. I think he's going to have a role if he works on getting his pad level down, because it's kind of hard getting your pad level lower when you're 6'6". But if he can work on doing that and clean up some of his technique, he's surprisingly a sneaky athlete. It can move very, very well. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see him being able to get in the rotation pretty early and be able to get some playing time and help us on run downs, playing behind Bobby Brown and maybe even competing with Shot Tuttle for playing time. So we'll see about Cam Jackson, but I like this Cam Jackson pick. This is a guy they met with a lot. He has a great personality. Just seeing the interviews, we finally got a big body nose tackle for our 3-4 defense. So I give this a strong B. The next pick was Mitchell Evans, round 5, 163 overall. He was projected to be 154 on the board, 151 on the board. So they got some value there with 12 picks back. I gave this one a B. Mitchell Evans is a guy that's a body type that we don't have on the roster. I think they did a good job doing this with all the picks, giving a little bit of a different taste and flavor of what we have. We have a 6'3", 245-pound athletic type of smaller frame tight ends that are athletic, like Tommy Tremble and JT Sanders. Now we have an inline potential Y blocker that can line up attached to the tackle in Mitchell Evans, who needs some working and fine tuning on his pass pro, but at 6'5" and some change and 258 pounds, he's definitely a bigger frame. He works great in the intermediate area, has a ton of spectacular catches. Just look up his name on YouTube. He has a ton of catches. He didn't get a lot of production in college because he tore his ACL in 2023, and then just Notre Dame's offense was pretty much abysmal from a passing game standpoint, even though they made it to the playoffs. But he was leading the team in receiving in 2023 before he hurt his knee. He played a full year in 2024, so he seems like he's there. Had a great 10-yard split on his 40-yard dash. So the burst there in that intermediate short area is where I think he'll do a lot of work with some yak upside and some potential 50-50 ball upside because of his spectacular ball skills in his hands. Just getting another big-time target help in the red zone, just like McMillan or T-Mac, will be helping us as well. I love the Mitchell Evans pick. I'm going to give this a B. I think he has upside. He may not be all-world tight end, but I think the fact that we have 3 tight ends that have variety of skill, that bring a variety of skill sets, and I think can all get on the field soon and very soon. I love that. We saw JT Sanders be a factor in this team last year because of the injuries in the training camp, but he ended up playing well because of all the extra reps he got. I would love to see Mitchell Evans carve out a role as a rookie, but regardless, I think, again, there's some upside to this guy. He has some ball skills to be able to make the spectacular catch. Like I said, Google his highlights, you'll see him, and getting him or with the 12th round, about 12 pick value is a big thing for me as well. I give it a strong B. And last but not least, Jimmy Home Jr., round 6, pick 208. Overall rank was 238. So according to them, as an overdraft, and he's a projected undrafted free agent. I don't think that was happening. Guys that have the type of speed that he shows on tape do not go undrafted because he has return skills. He has ability to stretch the defense. I know he tried to say his play style's a little bit like Deshaun Jackson. I would love that. But he also, I think from day one, he could carve out a role in this offense. Think about what Devin Tompkins was as a gadget guy last year, being that speed motion guy that can clear out room for people underneath, a guy that can potentially go over the top if he has a step, but also the guy that can catch the end arounds, the pop passes. He can be the pitch man. He can bubble around in space on screens and stuff. And we can just get creative that we haven't done this to try to boost the yak and the speed that this offense has. So you end up going with one of the bigger receivers in the class. Then you get one of the smaller receivers in the class in Jimmy Horn Jr., both contrasting styles, but again, adding things to this roster that we don't have to provide a variety of skills that way we have plenty of answers to the test no matter how people try to play us. And I think Jimmy Horn is a guy that can instantly get on the field just by a kick return or punt return if he can really carve that role out, for one, but two, as that gadget guy. And we'll see how he grows from there. I don't want to put too much on him in terms of people are saying he's the future slot in front of Thielen, but I just want to give him some opportunity to grow because he's going to have to get used to not playing in as much space as he did, because it seemed like in that Colorado offense, they spread the field so much. There was so much space and room for him to operate. In the NFL, things are more congested in there and you have to be able to go through traffic. This guy is tough enough to do it. It's just about the play strength because of his size and his slight frame to be able to hold up. I think, again, from a toughness standpoint, you see him getting smacked across the middle on multiple occasions in college, but him holding up and holding tough. And he even claims to be as tough as a pit bull as well. But again, there's still physical limitations that you want to see him be able to grow there to be able to have a full-time role. But I think from the jump, he can have a solid role as that gadget guy and have a package. So overall, I thought Dan Morgan did a great job of, again, bringing a variety of options to this team. You get complementary pieces. You get your speed and you're more of a bigger power guy on the edge rusher. You get your big body wide receiver that has dominant skill set with elite hands that can potentially be that wide receiver one that you've been looking for ever since you traded away DJ Moore. You end up getting a running back who's a pass catching running back who is a guy that has a little bit of a different skill set as well, a little bit smaller. Again, Mitchell Evans, bigger frame, tight end compared to everybody else. Jimmy Horn Jr., a speed burner guy, and Cam Jackson finally get a big body nose tackle. I thought that they checked a lot of boxes. Unfortunately, they did not take a middle safety, and they also didn't take corner, which are two areas that I think we have a big problem. I'm fine with them not going linebacker, but I thought that potentially instead of running back, maybe you could have went corner or nickel because we definitely need some depth because we know that after Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn, there's some question marks there. I personally feel that Shaw Smith-Wade should slide in to that CB3 position and we get a new nickel because I think Shaw, he played nickel last year, but it was his first time doing it. I prefer Shaw on the outside a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more comfortable there as well. So they need some corner depth. We'll see what they do in free agency. They drafted a whole bunch of undrafted free agents. We won't discuss and break down all of them. We'll probably do that at a later date once they kind of figured themselves out at rookie camp. I don't want to spend a bunch of time on that when maybe some of them don't even make it past that and get to OTAs. So best of luck to all those guys. And I would love to find some gems like we did last year, like Damani Richardson and Jalen Coker. But all that being said, my overall grade for Dan Morgan, a B+ because of missing out on the potential to get corner, but you also checked a lot of boxes and got some answers and some guys with upsides and everything makes sense. Everything seems to have a defined role that maybe allows these guys to carve out some early playing time for this team if they're ready. But we'll see how it goes. Now that we have the guys, it's up to the coaches to maximize what we get out of all of them. You guys let me know down below in the comments what you thought Dan Morgan's letter grade was for this draft. How do you feel about my grades on each pick? Do you disagree with any of them? Let me know how you feel down below in the comments. Without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan. I'll see you next time. Peace.